1024, where your entertainment will be transformed.
Warning, the following video provided may contain content that is not suitable for younger audiences and may cause you to develop a serious addiction to Transformers. It also may cause your head to explode from all the sheer epicness. Viewer discretion is advised.
Weep grog no weep ninny bong, my fellow addicts, and welcome to this, on Hallows Eve, to my lair! Before the Review Spectre special begins, allow me to tell you a tale of a legendary knight who still walks the earth to this very day. Many years ago lived a knight of Cybertron, sworn to defend his planet. One fateful night, the planet soon fell under attack, and our noble knight was gravely injured. However, his brothers saw the horror, and were so appalled by him, they cast him to exile, never to be seen again, until now. And Skullitron is that legend. Before we take a look at the decaying, decrepit legend himself, let's take a look at his plastic windowed coffin. Nothing on the box we haven't seen before, except for the usual name, logos, copyright, and the obligatory product images with a number of steps for conversion to each mode on the back of the box. Only a Toys R Us exclusive and part of the Mission to Cybertron Toys R Us subline, and the Cybertronian glyphs, which can be decoded by the Cybertronian Ouija board. The glyph decoder. Now taking a look at this spooky skeletal spectre, multi-moded monstrosity, here we have Skullitron in his robot mode. For this particular review, I'm going to start with the robot mode and go later on to the beast within. As you can see, the painting and sculpting on this figure gives him a very nice weathering effect, giving that old, decrepit, and dying, rusted effect of that which he had in the movie. And he also has a mug that is so mutilated that his own motherboard couldn't recognize who he is or who he used to be. Another nice compliment to this figure is the single red optic, painted in a nice red that sends a glare that can pierce into your very soul. The molding on the figure is also very well done, giving all kinds of different layers as well as delivering a very nice unique look to that of any other Transformers figure we have had through the movie line. The articulation on Skullitron alone is also very impressive. He has a ball-jointed head which can make him go full exorcist mode. But be careful, because the head is very tight. He also has 360-degree movement in his shoulders. However, the giant bulked shoulder pads get in the way. He also has a swivel on his arm, as well as a swivel on his wrist, and a nice over 90-degree knee bend, or elbow bend, which will serve as a wyvern knee. Unfortunately, he has no waist articulation, but he does have hips that can go forward, somewhat back, though is limited by these wyvern wings, but when you move those out of the way, it can go all the way back. It can swivel, has a nice 90-degree knee bend, but is also hindered due to the wyvern head stuck underneath the shin, and has a foot pivot as well as rotation on a ball joint. And you can also display these wings however you wish, but be careful, that will also undo the torso, giving you a haunting nightmare. Unfortunately, one of the main issues with this mold that seems to have made a grave mistake is that the legs alone on this particular figure, on this mold, as well as his knight brethren Steelbane, are very loose. The lack of friction in the hips make it very difficult to have him stand, but once you have him flat-footed and ready to stand up, he will stand, and you can actually give him some pretty decent posing. But we all know that since he is a dead knight, who was then later revived by somehow, you'll kind of want him like this. I mean, you can do that. You can also take the dragon arms and wings here and position them in any particular shape, manner, or form as you wish. You can give him bat wings if you really wish to do so, while also having a very scary, intimidating looking silhouette, which I think looks pretty cool. You kind of do that for Steelbane, but if you want to do it for Skullitron, I recommend giving him like butterfly wings to give him a more jagged looking approach. So you can do whatever you wish with this. He does of course come with a weapon, as any noble knight should. He comes with a sword that is also made out of flexi plastic, much like his wings, and unfortunately there's not much we can do about that. You can go ahead and take the sword and plug it in his upper thigh with the use of the peg. That can also be utilized on his dragon mode, his wyvern mode, whatever you want to call it, mode. But it will stay like so. And you can have him draw out his weapon whenever he feels threatened or he needs to defend his fellow Cybertronians. Now, because transformations are normally done in stop motion, this particular review will have to be done in a jump cut. So unfortunately, no stop motion and no transformation shown. So if you wish to go see how he transforms, look up a Steelbane review, or stay tuned later on for my Steelbane review. But with that said, let's get on to the Dragon mode. And here we have the beast within, Skullitron in his Wyvern mode, or Dragon mode, whatever you prefer to call him. As I mentioned previously with this particular mold, the legs on this figure fail to hold a pose. If you put it in the right position, it will stand properly, it will hold, but due to the limited friction in the hips, it will just droop, pointing down below to the undead. But once you get him in a nice position, he does look rather impressive. The overall appearance of the Wyvern mode, and seeing the transformation firsthand, is very, very unique and very different to anything that we had throughout the Transformers movie line. You would have never expected a knight to turn into a dragon if you hadn't seen the dragon arms and wings on the back of his robot mode, as well as the claws and the hands. But once you get everything nice and neat, he does look rather cool and rather complete. Very creepy, very hostile, very different. How often have we ever had a transforming movieverse dragon? In some particular cases, the legs will hold a pose, as I mentioned. This one particular on my copy, unfortunately, he just likes to droop. But then again, it gives him that, like, aggressive look to him, like he's ready to kill ya. His mouth does open and close, just like his knight brother Steelbane, and it does open very wide, as well as has a nice tongue right in there, you can see. The neck can move all around. It can also turn his head. You can lower his horns. You can raise his horns. You can, again, go full exorcist mode, but again, be careful, because you don't want to chip any of the plastic underneath the neck. The arms can go out, and you can also position the wings however you please. Like so, getting him into a nice flight stance, which I think is very nice. And they're just on simple rotators. The dragon arms alone are on ball joints, and they can move in and out, forward and slightly back. But again, be careful, because things will get undone. And unfortunately, this whole back section does not peg in, it sort of just rests. The back legs, however, do have some nice amount of articulation as well. You can utilize the wrist swivel to give him a foot pivot, as well as utilize the elbow joint to give him some dragon knees. I, however, like to point them out at least 3 clicks to have him have a very more stable stance, and it works in most cases. And I think that's how you're supposed to have it, but your toy, do whatever you wish. And the tail, of course, uses the same hip joint as well as knee joint that the neck of the wyvern does. And of course, you can take his sword and plug it on his butt. The dreaded butt. However, again, things kinda get in the way. But once you get it, it looks like a spinal column of some kind, which is very creepily cool. Now, for size comparison, won't be showing him with another Movieverse character, but I will show him with a fellow creature of the Afterspark, Terrorcon Cliffjumper. Ooh. And I do have his head, but unfortunately the transparent plastic busted off, so he does not have a proper head anymore, which is very suiting on this Hallows Eve. So there you go. There is that. In terms of final thoughts with Skullitron, if you want a transforming wyvern that will send chills down your spine, and pretty much have him also be a giant Robo-Knight zombie, then by all means, pick him up, because he will be a very creepily cool addition to your haunting collection. And if you don't want him, then by all means feel free to pass him, and maybe even spring for Steelbane, his knight brother. But, in my personal opinion, I think this is a figure that is worth the nightmares. He is a little bit complicated to transform in certain aspects. He is a nightmare to pose in certain ways, but once you do it, it is very much worth it. I do apologize if this review seems rushed, but I wanted to put something out there for Halloween, since I've never done it before, and I do sincerely apologize, and I promise the reviews will get better with each one that comes out. So, with all that being said, my children of the Afterspark, I want to thank you all very much for tuning in to the TFA review Halloween Spooktacular. And, as usual, if you haven't already, please by all means to like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe for more haunting reviews, because this is the only channel where your entertainment will be transformed. And if you wish to contact me from beyond the grave, then leave a comment down in the comment section down below, post or message me via the Facebook page, or should I say the Facebook page, and follow me on Instagram for your latest behind-the-scenes coverage of anything related on the channel, as well as important updates and the latest news developments within the Transformers franchise as they occur. And once you message me, please be respectful, be appropriate, and be patient, and I will reply to you as soon as I can, from beyond the grave. But with all that being said, my fellow addicts of the night, please remember, until next time, and have a safe, fun, and happy Halloween. This is TFA 1024, the Transformers Addict, rolling out.